Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Liberty, the missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother has went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her, they've been yelling for her.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Where are your kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Dad, where are Lori's kids?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me. I am still not in my office, but let me know, chat, if you can hear me before I continue on. And if you haven't hit like, I'd ask if you could do so right now and subscribe as well. And we'd love to have you here for other live streams. So I'm trying to do a morning live. It's probably going to be an hour or so. Not as long as our usual lives, but we're going to try it out and see how long I can go. I'll be watching the baby monitor too to see when she wakes up. But hello, everybody. Hi, MK. Hi, Adrian and Nay, Caroline, Llama Mama. It's good to see you guys. So I have some stuff I wanted to go through. I put some clips together that I collected on Jodi. Our last live stream regarding this case was specifically honing in on Ruby, whereas this live stream, I kind of want to focus more on Jodi. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen the Mormon Stories podcast, but there has been a few victims of Jodi's that have gone on there and spoken. If you guys have seen them, let me know. One of them is her niece who has spoken out. And recently there was another one who was like another patient and somebody who she was giving therapy for. So Ruby, Franke, 41, and Jodi Hildebrandt, 54, were charged with 6 felony counts of aggravated child abuse after their arrest on August 30th. Now the the son had escaped from Jodi's house in Ivins, which is in Utah. So we also heard from the father yesterday in an interview. Let me just reference my notes there before we get into Jodi clips. So according to the father's lawyer, Kevin, the father, is coming out of a fog of 18 months. He's blindsided and shocked by all this. There has never been any physical abuse that he has ever given to the children himself or, that he'd seen. If he had seen any of it, he definitely would have intervened, apparently. They've been separated for 13 months, and he hadn't even talked to the children in all those months of separation. So he didn't even know that the kids were in Ivins. And they'd been there for months. So she, as in Ruby, told Kevin to leave to help their marriage. And once he was gone, she dropped on him that, things are better now that you're gone, and indicated in order to get back with her, he would need to have zero contact with the kids and with her for a while. And, once he had gotten out of the house, she expressed things are so much better. He had no idea what was going on. He believes that Jodi has changed Ruby. He thinks that Jodi and Ruby have manipulated him, but that Jodi is the spearhead. So that is the statements from the father and the lawyer at the moment. Now, let's get into some of these clips with Jodi.
The awesome thing about choice. You can change. You can move from distortion into truth with a choice. And if you don't know how to do that, that's when you get some more help. There's tons of help here. We have all sorts of interventions, classes, podcasts, videos. We're here to help you see how to parent in truth rather than distortion. Because all these nice things that you're doing for your kids are actually high likelihood very controlling, and they're teaching your child how to not live as an adult in truth.
There we are. Hi, we are live in Mapleton, Utah at a home of somebody who is learning how to be a mental fitness trainer. And we have Ruby here. And Ruby is a part of the original 10 women that are being trained to become mental fitness trainers. So Ruby, you want to tell us about what a mental fitness trainer is?
Yes. So we are getting mentally fit the same way your body would get physically fit by running and lifting weights and working with a personal trainer. We are getting ready to be your mental fitness trainer. We're getting truth really easy to teach. We're making it very simple, boiling it down to principles. That's how you're going to understand truth, is really knowing principles, being able to put words to it and help you, and you're going to feel so much better.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to span over here. We've got, okay, can't see. There we go.
Tori and Sherry, how are you feeling about what you're getting ready to go out and do? Teaching truth to the world.
Excited.
So excited.
Excited.
Yeah.
Coming to a town near you. And here's Kim and Jess.
Hello.
Becky, Liz, Michelle. And then we got Johnny over there. Johnny.
And Johnny.
And Johnny.
And me.
And
there's Pam.
Did you get Pam?
Nope, Pam's over here.
Pam. Hello. Johnny is our male person who comes in and does the role play for the males, so we can practice. So he's quite talented to do the role plays with us, so we appreciate Johnny. Johnny's a man of truth as well, and he's also a mental fitness trainer. So glad that you're with us. And any of you who are interested in becoming a mental fitness trainer, we are going to open that up to train other people. So give us a call or email us at support@connectionsclassroom.com, and maybe you can come to the next retreat for the...
Come work out with us.
That's right, come work out.
Put you to work. Bye.
This next clip is Jodi talking about same-sex sexuality, or kind of the LGBT population.
Okay, I fear that he may have become corrupted, particularly the app TikTok that I hear from other women in my church is propagating homosexual lifestyle. Yes, that's true. It is. I hold myself partly to blame for this, as I allowed him free access to his smartphone since age 15. Oh, Mom. So you said I feel partly to blame. This isn't about blame. Blame's not going to help you. You are culpable. You are responsible. You put into that boy's hands something very dangerous, much more dangerous than a weapon, much more dangerous than a gun. You know, people say, well, guns kill.
And let me know if you agree with her here that cell phones and access to smartphones is more dangerous than a gun being in a growing child's hand.
Well, cell phones will kill you spiritually.
Natasha?
Oh, you're going to me. Sorry.
Because you're audibly moaning.
Oh, so information, I guess, is deadly. That's really what she's saying.
I'm certain my mom was just like at her wit's end. She didn't know what to do.
Now, this is the first interview that her niece did with the Mormon Stories podcast. I want to play her recent interview that she did with a news outlet after we go through some Jodi Hildebrandt.com reviews.
And Jodi was just like, don't worry, I have this. Also, the church recommends me. I know what I'm doing. But Jodi also was convinced that I was a drug addict. She was convinced I was a sex addict. She was convinced that I had abortion. She would rationalize and validate these types of behaviors through dreams and visions. She would have these dreams that God came to her and told her that I had had an abortion.
Now, the dreams and visions aspect, who is getting Lori Vallow vibes? I know a lot of people have stated, oh, she reminds me of Lori Vallow. this was one of the like huge pieces to me that was like, yeah, they're very, very similar. Not only are they tied to the LDS church, obviously they have a little bit more extreme views, but at the same time, Jodi is highly recommended by the LDS church for all counseling for children, for marriage, etc.
And also she was convinced that every word that came out of my mouth was a lie. And that, gave her rationale to put duct tape on my mouth. And that's why I was always duct taped. And like, I wasn't allowed to speak to my parents. I wasn't allowed to speak to anyone alone. And then then like with the duct taping, I wasn't allowed to speak to anyone. So if I was at church and I wasn't duct taped and a church leader came in, because this happened, a church leader would come and be like, "Are you okay?" And I would have to just stare at them. Because she also had spies. She had people reporting back to her anything and everything that I did. So if I did talk to someone, she found out somehow. Like, the amount of paranoia and fear that I had, where it's like, I can't talk to anyone. And also people saw me duct taped.
And now, yeah, that's a huge clue. The duct tape, that definitely corroborates what we had seen at the crime scene, basically. And I'm calling it the crime scene because, the child escaped out of Jodi's house with duct tape on his wrists and ankles. And then they did the search warrant on the house, found medical gauze that was used for his wounds, etc. So this sort of links Jodi, circumstantially to, and theoretically to, this concept of she was the one that put the duct tape on them. Now, will we know for sure? I mean, whose fingerprints were on the duct tape? All of that, I'm sure, will be looked into.
People saw that these things were going on. And other than like the few people that like went to Bishop and being like, "Hey, something's wrong," no one did anything.
Children come to the world from a position of focusing on self because they need to survive. So there isn't a child that's been born that doesn't grab your attention with screaming and crying and letting you know, like, "Hey, me, right?" And if you don't teach them as they develop and they go along their process of maturing, they will stay in me mode.
Well, taking your slide analogy, that's really great because your gravity is just going to pull you down. And it's easy and can be enjoyable in the moment to go down that slide, but you're trying to teach your child to be strong.
Yeah.
And you've caught yourself on a slide. You've put your feet out and put your hands out and then turned around and climbed back up to the very top. Yes. That's what you're wanting to do with your child, is teach them to be strong.
She was teaching her children in that moment, like, it is appropriate now for you to repent. And here's what repentance looks like. We are now in a space and time where we have, a whole generation that is growing up and has grown up, and they have not been taught to be empathic. And I know that some of you have been taught, and the masses have not been taught. And those are the people that come and want to attack truth. So anyone that is attacking Ruby or myself or anyone else that speaks truthful principles, those are the people that have not been taught to live in truth, have not been taught to be kind and thoughtful. And when I say kind, I don't mean subjectively kind. I'm talking about being honest, responsible, and humble. That's kind.
Yeah. Which is very different than the culture of niceness.
Yeah, kindness. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So that concludes the little clips that I put together of Jodi. I just wanted to get a little feel for, her vibe, I guess you could say. There's more I can put together too for future live streams, but now I want to just switch up the screen. Now, on the Mormon Stories podcast yesterday, the guest, his name was Adam. He was a victim of Jodi. And I can't even begin to try and summarize his story. It went on for 5 hours and it was just unbelievable and horrific. I definitely recommend checking that out. Even if you just skipped through the 5-hour live stream, like no matter where your mouse will land, you'll just be stunned with the I mean, and it's all true because he's like taking her to court and all that. There's validity in his drama with her, but he spoke on JodiHildebrandt.com. Can you guys see the screen? And hello, Holly and Shay Benet, everyone else who has joined. Thank you for being here. So this is a website called JodiHildebrandt.com. I haven't even started to go through all this stuff. What I really want to do today specifically is reviews. So let me just get comfortable. I'm going to just get comfortable and get ready to read some of this. So this is from her classroom or her counseling and her connections classroom. And it says, if you would like to make a formal business complaint against Jodi in Connections Classroom, you can do so by contacting Utah Attorney General. And then it says, if Jodi has provided counseling or therapy and you feel your rights have been violated, you can also file a complaint with the Utah Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing. I would like to leave a review for others as a warning to avoid Jodi Hildebrandt. Hold on, just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Okay. And her teaching and philosophy at all costs. It cost me a marriage, and she used a shaming me and others in the group I attended as control. My former wife and I had our issues, but it wasn't until we had individual sessions with these distortions, she said we were there, turned into distortions that cost a marriage and divided a family. I once had a billing issue regarding the time of a session. She would frequently call me from the car with spotty service, and our conversation would drop up to 10 to 15 minutes. Yet she would charge me for a full session. When I approached her about it, she blew up and started yelling and accusing me of trying to get more session time that I paid for. There is not one good thing about her program or her. It should be investigated for fraud and misconduct, for multiple HIPAA violations. She would share my name and other clients' information. She does more harm than good. Someone referred to her as a wolf in sheep's clothing. I would refer to her as Satan in saint's clothing. I will be spending as much effort that I can to warning people about her distortion and shame she puts in others. Now, here's another one. I have grave concerns about the organization called Connections Classroom and Moms of Truth. My husband and I took the first course for couples and benefited from being reminded to not tell ourselves unhelpful or untrue stories, and to invite one another to listen when we feel we have another perspective to share. We are grateful for the correct principles we were reminded of through the course material. However, there were some serious red flags we witnessed while taking the course and through subsequent exposure to Connections. Though I recognize there is a need for helpful counseling to help heal relationships, destructive division is actually what Connections is perpetuating. The biggest problem I see is that Jodi and Ruby do not use the principles they purport to teach. Instead of golden rule type language and patient understanding interactions, they often harshly and forcefully shame and batter people down in a brash and cruel manner when they ask questions or have concerns, though they are very kind to those who agree with them. In all fairness, Jodi appears to have started off her career with noble intentions, but those intentions are all called into question by past and current professional peers who see her methods and manners as emotionally and mentally detrimental, even abusive. Ruby, who is known by many as her role as a YouTuber influencer and a person trying to help families succeed at home, is a gifted and intelligent woman. But something has changed, which, this isn't written in here, but remember earlier we talked about the husband's lawyer who's pretty much said as soon as Jodi came around Ruby changed, and they both were manipulative towards him. That's what the lawyer for the husband's claiming. I know even in chat, everyone's like, I'm not buying this. He has culpability too, blah, blah, blah. So that's going to be an interesting side story as well in all this. So it says, for example, Jodi and Ruby seem to think themselves synonymous with truth, always written with a capital T, which makes it appear that there is some type of God complex going on, and it gives off the warning signs of a cult-like mentality. Ruby and Jodi quickly make judgments about a situation without knowing or seeking to know enough of the details, and have been known to reflect truth by saying, I feel sorry for you. It is obvious that you are lost. Your anxiety, depression, unaliving tendencies are a result of not taking responsibility for your feelings. Your children have no right to privacy. I recommend you kick your daughter out, regardless of her serious heart condition, etc. The tone and ways these mothers treat people and give advice commonly goes against nearly every principle taught in professional psychology, counseling, teaching, and mentoring. It is painful to watch and heart-wrenching to read about, knowing that desperate or faithful followers may very well follow their counsel. I feel obligated to warn those investigating connections or moms of truth to be aware that these women have become master manipulators who are expert at pulling vulnerable individuals in, making them doubt themselves, their spouses, their children, siblings, etc., until one day they realize their own family relationships have disintegrated. Please look closely at the current lives and families of Jodi and Ruby and talk to their family members, immediate and extended, before jumping into any counseling training with them. And then this other one, Jodi got my kids to believe all the lies their mother told them. She wasn't given permission to speak to their mother, told the children as a professional to block your father from being able to call, text, or other communications via cell phone. I wouldn't trust this company. They use brainwashing tactics to manipulate you. They intentionally make you feel bad for yourself and use slanders. Please stay away from this company at all costs. They are a scam. This one 6 months ago. I have a different history with Jodi than most. I am pretty well-known therapist and was trained under Jodi for a year. As I trained under her, I saw her tear apart families and destroy relationships. I believe she is evil, and I don't say that lightly. I've done so much therapy for people coming out of her cult who were traumatized by her therapy. I don't have an axe to grind, but I am tired of watching people get hurt by her work. I'm reluctant to speak against colleagues and other therapists. However, I wouldn't mind somehow, some way helping people see that she is dangerous. They will ruin your family through mind control. They don't want you to think for yourself or critically think. They want to shelter you. They are an actual cult. They also assaulted me, so I'm suing. Had such a negative experience with Jodi, hoping others will see this so they don't have to go through what I did. I'm going to read just a few more, guys, and then we'll move on to the interview with the niece, Jodi's niece. The expectations and principles that they set on young kids whom are still learning and making mistakes is horrible. You're not perfect, so don't expect your children or other kids to be. Highly don't recommend following these two. It'll make your kids' life depressing. Just look on YouTube about the honest reviews about this so-called advice business. The information shared and spread by these people are disgusting. They are attempting to brainwash their clients. They pretty much believe that their principles are better than anyone else's own personal morals and values. I gave them the time of day and went in unbiased to gain knowledge and understanding of their practices, as I was interested in their approach, but they couldn't be sharing information that is further from the truth. They themselves are deceitful. So, I mean, it just goes on. There's other pages. We can definitely read the rest of these in a future live stream. But Let me just check with chat, see how you guys are doing. What are you guys thinking? And hello, Addicted to Art and Crime, and everyone else who has joined us. Hello, CDT. It's good to see you. Good morning, Melissa Jade. All right. So there's more there. I mean, and again, we can explore that website further. Right now, I want to just switch up the screen. Now, we did talk about the husband for a second. And now I was just thinking, instead of playing the interview with the lawyer, because I did sum it up for you guys in the beginning of the live, I'm curious to see what the comments are underneath the law and crime video. Sometimes I like to just go to the comment section and read them with you guys. So let me just see that. Again, I got my notes here about what Kevin's lawyer, the husband, is stating. So to recap for those who join, he's coming out of a fog of 18 months, blindsided and shocked by all of this. Ruby hadn't talked to Kevin in months. He had no idea the kids were in Ivan's. They'd been there for months. They've been separated for 13 months. He hadn't seen the kids in that time because she told him to leave and it would help the marriage once he was gone. And then once he was gone, she pretty much said, everything's been blissful without you. She indicated in order to get back with her, he would need to have zero contact with them for a while. He left and that's when she said things are better. He had no idea what was going on. He's never been physical with the kids. And he says Jodi has manipulated him and Ruby. They both have manipulated him as a team effort, but they're stating that Jodi is the spearhead. Good morning, Corey, and everyone else joining. Yeah, Jodi sounds like pure evil and greed, pretty much. That's what the vibe I'm getting. All right, switching up the screen. Again, that whole interview is on Law and Crime. I'm telling you, I just summed it up though, so I could save you 21 minutes. Really, really popular comment here. 2K likes. I have to completely disagree with this. Jodi is terrible in her own right, but Ruby and Kevin are not victims of Jodi by any means. And none of the terrible choices that they made, like sending their son to a wilderness camp for months, taking their kids' bed away, not beating them, locking them in their rooms, tying them up, are to be placed entirely on Jodi. Those were choices that they made themselves. This is basically like trying to excuse all of a bully's actions and behavior by saying that they were a victim of the person that bullied them. So the way that they treat others and terrible things that they do to other people are okay. They better not pull this victim card because no one's buying it. A father who doesn't know his youngest, most vulnerable children are malnourished, his younger son duct taped with visible injuries, there is absolutely no excuse for their parents' behavior. He's a sorry excuse for a father. There is no way a good dad would stay away from his children for so long. It's just absurd. That's so sad that he didn't have any contact with his children for over a year in order to save a marriage to a sick person. The fact he didn't try to protect his children from his wife knowing what she was capable of is just beyond comprehension. And what father would agree not to see his kids for over a year and be okay with that? It's so messed up. If any of their kids are reading this, your parents were wrong and abusive. Please break the cycle and raise your kids with love, security, and comfort. We will see you and hear you. You'll get through this and you have well wishes and support. It's unreal hearing the lawyers say that Kevin always provided for his kids. They sacrificed their childhood so their parents could exploit them online for money and likes. Their entire existence, private, embarrassing, and abusive moments included, plastered on the internet for the world to see. The kids provided for themselves, make no mistake. He may not be a Ruby level monstrosity, but he's an abusive, neglectful parent at the least. those are just some of the comments on that video regarding Kevin's lawyer. So, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, I agree. I'm not saying those ones are wrong. And those were the top comments with likes. Okay, so this is Jessie. Now she has done, we've seen a little bit of clips of her in the beginning of the stream, the 7 minutes I put together to kind of give us a little background of Jodi. This is an interview that she did with this news outlet. So I just want to play this again. I haven't watched this, so I'll be reacting with you guys for the first time. And yeah, let's just listen to this and get through this together. And hello, EE Caroline and everyone else joining. If you guys could hit like and subscribe, that's really all I ask of you guys, and it's free.
You either saw, spoke to, when was the last time you either saw, spoke to, or in a way heard from Jodi? Has it been a long time?
It's been a long time. I think it was a family member's wedding, like probably over a decade ago.
You were also under her care at one point, right?
Yeah, I was left in her care when I was a teenager, for a little under a year.
Have you met Ruby before?
No, I've never met Ruby. This is the first time I've ever even heard of her. I have gone and watched at least some of her videos. They're very difficult to watch just for my own experience with that form of therapy. It's quite triggering, to be honest. So I've never met her, but the things that she is saying and regurgitating are very, very familiar to me.
Vestiaire Collective, a stylist's best kept secret. Vestiaire Collective, pre-loved luxury fashion you can trust.
Quiet in the kitchen. As a cooking show host, I have an amazing job. I also have ulcerative colitis. And for me, that means food can be a little tricky. But being in here, in the kitchen, is what feeds my soul. That's why I'm partnering with Pfizer to bring.
It's interesting to watch
Sorry, guys. I left to get some coffee. My bad for the commercial.
And I understand this, but it's interesting to watch the world respond to her and kind of putting her at the forefront. And I understand that she's the mother of these children, and it makes sense. But the philosophies and the therapeutic modalities that she's using are Jodi's. And these are not new. These are not, this is a pattern that Jodi has been engaged with for at least 14 years.
Hi, Allie.
I don't know if there are other people that she's used these on, but she's definitely taught. I know that she teaches parents to use these types of therapies, as she would call them. So yeah, it's been a really interesting experience watching everyone focus on Ruby, and I understand why. But this is Jodi. These are Jodi's words. These are Jodi's ideas. These are over decades old. So. Yeah.
Is that why you've called Jodi the mastermind behind all of this?
Yes. That doesn't excuse Ruby's involvement and her perpetuating these beliefs and these systems, but Ruby didn't come up with this. Ruby obviously supports it and has used these on her children, but this is coming from Jodi.
In short, can you describe what you mean? Like, which practices are you talking about, just to make sure we're clear, because I know there's a lot out there. So which ones are you talking about that you've seen, that you're hearing about pertaining to her children, that you're familiar with too?
Sure, yeah. So the things that I experienced while living with Jodi, I experienced being tied, I experienced being duct taped, I experienced being blindfolded, I experienced severe isolation, I experienced severe emotional, spiritual, and psychological abuse. I experienced the being told I shouldn't be around other people, being told that I was dangerous to be around. People were afraid of me to the point where I was afraid of myself.
Now I have to pause it real quick because remember, when Jodi was arrested, besides asking for a lawyer, oh, today's your birthday, Shay Benet. Happy birthday. Thank you so much for being an amazing mod and friend. And I'm so happy that you're spending part of your special day here. So happy birthday. So the reason why I had to pause it real quick is because when Jodi was arrested, besides asking for a lawyer, she specifically said something along the lines of those two children shouldn't be around other kids. And then Ruby backs up that type of statement when she's in her court hearing and drops a bomb that her children have essayed younger siblings of theirs and neighbor kids. Like there was up to 20 kids or something that one of her children have essayed. Now, we don't know if those accusations are true or not, but listening to Jodi's niece here, Jessie, speak about how other people thought that she was dangerous and it got to the point where she thought that she was dangerous herself, this could still be something like Jodi making it seem that Ruby's children are dangerous to justify whatever or explain whatever, you know?
I was forced to sleep outside in the snow. I was, like I said, isolated for up to 12 hours a day. If someone spoke to me directly, if I wasn't wearing duct tape on my mouth, I had to just stare at them and not respond, because she also had systems of people that would report back to her if I broke any of these rules. And her whole thing, which is deeply, darkly ironic, is that everything stems from shame and how horrible shame is, and that all of the reason, like all of mental illness, all tics, so like OCDs, addiction, everything stems from shame, which is just horrifying because she is the greatest perpetuator of shame. She also, and this is like a very deep connection and why I chose to come forward to the media rather than just staying with the podcast. She accused me of being a sex addict. She accused me of being addicted to masturbation, to the point where I wasn't allowed to, I mentioned this on the podcast, to the point where I wasn't allowed to use tampons. I never was allowed privacy unless I was isolated. So that included the bathroom. I was never allowed to have the door closed because she was convinced that I was just constantly masturbating. She was convinced that I was addicted to porn. I had never seen porn at that point in my life. I didn't even know that people with my anatomy could masturbate. Like I had no idea any of this stuff, but I just believed her because she used religion and God as a motive.
So here's my question. Again, this is the first time I'm hearing this interview with you guys, so I'm just kind of like stunned, like you guys are in chat. If this girl, again, she's speaking on when she was like a teen and young girl, you know, I believe her too. So she never even knew what porn was. But what's going on in Jodi's mind that she wants these, because this isn't the first victim of hers that have come forward basically saying that like Jodi made him feel that he was a perverse, how can I say this? Something to do with children. Like, why? Yes. Oh my gosh, Tony. Sounds like Jodi is projecting her issues on children. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's going on in Jodi's mind that she wants these narratives to be true about these innocent, like fragile minds that actually it's not true about? You know, like, why is she projecting this type of, P-file? Why is she trying to make it seem that these people are these labels when they're not? You know, it's like Jodi wants it to be that way, but like, why? And again, that podcast yesterday, Mormon Stories podcast, the Adam guy on there, I mean, he was basically to the point where like his ex-wife and stuff was like setting him up like in positions that she could write like police reports on. And he wasn't allowed to see his own kids. And it was just based off of lies and manipulation done by Jodi. I can't even explain the stuff that he was saying because it's just crazy. But, you know, it got to the point where he legally was not around his own children and he had never even harmed them like that. But Jodi and her, because when she's their counselor and therapist, she's writing notes and she has like pull as far as like if the wife went to file a restraining order or protective order, she would be there to like back up, you know, the wife's statements and stuff. And she was spinning the web and coming in between. I mean, we read some of the reviews. This isn't the only marriage that she's come between.
Of control and a mode to manipulate. And so I just believed all of these things. So her ability to convince you of these neuroticisms and these behaviors is, and I was a teenager. And so a child in that position of being told this over and over and over and over again, which I'm certain he was, stood no chance. She also, because of what the abuse and torturing that was going on and the belief that she had that I was doing something more. So her rationale to the severity of these punishments and this physical and emotional abuse was she wanted to make my life, and this is like her quote, like this is what she would tell me all of the time. She wanted to make my life so uncomfortable that it would force the sin out, that it would force me to confess. So things continuously got worse and worse and progressively more and more intense as a way to get me to confess, because she believed that if I had confessed everything, if all of my sins were out and in the open, that I would be getting better. And I was declining like very fast, exponentially. And so she just kept ramping it up. And so to hear Ruby tell the world that her child is a sex addict, a predator, and has been addicted to porn since he was 3 years old, it just echoes exactly the things that she was telling me and telling everyone around me.
And also, we hadn't really talked much about that on this live stream, but we talked about it the last one. She in court, I guess, is saying that that child who was essaying other siblings and neighbor kids has been addicted to porn since 3. Now, that people have pointed out that contradicts everything that they've said in their mommy vlogs when they talk about no phone access and no smart device access. So how is that taking place? You know what I mean? So I totally believe Jessie here when she's saying, oh, well, that's just a narrative that they paint. They just make up things.
And I know that I think I don't know if I got this right, but I'm pretty sure that she's saying that he even confessed to it. Well, I also confessed to things that I didn't do as a way of trying to get the abuse to stop. Because when she's like drilling it into you both psychologically and physically that there's more, and it will stop once you tell her, because that's what she would tell you. Like in the middle of the abuse, she'd be like, I'll stop as soon as you tell me. As soon as you tell me what's going on, like what you did. Oh, she was also convinced that I had abortions. She was convinced she made me do 12-step because she was convinced I was an addict, like a drug addict as well. I'd never done drugs. I'd never had sex. Again, I didn't know that masturbation was even possible. I had no idea what these things were. So I just started making things up as a way, as like trying to get this to stop, because I had no one there to help me and to save me. And I think I even said that on the podcast that I was making things up. And when I spoke to the detective down in St. George days ago, I told her that as well. It's like and so even if he had confessed, it cannot be taken seriously, because this child was being tortured. And I'm certain that she echoed those words of like, if you tell me, I will stop. So what is happening, it just echoes so close to home of what she did to me. And the repercussions, the emotional and physical repercussions of those actions, like the fact that she can, because the thing that's so sinister about this is that it can't be disproven. So even if like she goes to prison, his name is cleared, it will never be fully cleared because it cannot be disproven. So this is going to potentially follow him for the rest of his life. So even with those children being taken out of her care, she is still abusing them. And so with whatever is happening, whatever did happen, I can guarantee you it's not what she's saying.
Her business, Connections Classroom, is this the same approach she uses for all of her patients as well that are not family or not Ruby's kids, as far as you know?
I don't know the intricacies of what she promotes and what she teaches on Connections Classroom. If it's anything even close, then I'm certain that there's going to be parallels. I know that she believes that all shame should be punished, and I know that I wouldn't be surprised. I really don't know. I've stayed away as much as possible from her and her world, to just heal and to try to salvage any life that I could possibly live post living with her.
With that said, it sounds like this wasn't really a secret, though. Obviously, you knew about these teachings. Other people in her family, probably both families I've been hearing, knew about some of these practices or had heard of. Why do you think it took to 2023 for a child to escape, go to a neighbor's house, call 911, and now this is a thing? Like, why did it take this long?
I think it's a combination of quite a few things. One, the church supports her. She's been promoted by the church, and people trust the church.
Not only does the church support her, but she's their top rated therapist. Anyone that goes to the bishop with an issue, the bishop is recommending you need to speak to Jodi. She's our counselor here, faith-based, blah, blah, blah. And good morning, Roxanne. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy your other day off. I appreciate you waking up and joining us today. Not that you're always sleeping in. I just know it's your day off, so I appreciate you being here.
Members trust their bishops. They trust their stake presidents. And a lot of these people, most people that are going to therapy, if not all, are in a vulnerable position. And she is remarkably convincing. She is also terrifying if you cross her, because she has and will systematically destroy your life. She destroys your reputation. She destroys any of your credibility. So because there are definitely people that have been speaking out against her. She lost her license because of someone speaking out in 2012. Like, everyone's not just been like, okay, yeah, for sure, fair game, free for all. People have been criticizing her. That's just that no one has listened. Because one, we have a culture of people not believing children and not trusting children. And also children trust their parents, and then the parents trust the church. So there's been, and Jodi, what she does that's so tricky is that she utilizes and uses whatever is available. So if you go to her with OCD, if you go to her with severe depression, she'll use that information as a way of control. Oh, you have OCD because you have deep-rooted shame. And those tics are happening because the shame has nowhere to go. And so it's coming out in this neuroticism. And then, or let's say you told her that you lied, which is a normal human thing that we've all done. That doesn't make you a liar. Oh, well, you lied. You're a liar. Now everything you say is a lie, and you can't be trusted.
And by the way, for those who don't know, the Mormon church apparently equates, like masturbation as horrible and as sinful as murder.
Also separates people. She keeps people so they can't talk and corroborate. Like, it is so vile and tricky and ingenious. Like Jodi is she is a very unwell person.
I'm getting like Charles Manson vibes, cult leader vibes from her, from Jodi.
I don't know her exact diagnoses, but I know that she's been diagnosed with a plethora of things. And yeah, so it's devastating because I went forward as well. I mean, I went to the police when I was 16. I tried to do what I could, and no one believed me. Because why would they? She destroyed my credibility. I was an angry teenager, and now I'm just you're just like an emotional, angry teenager and she had told people that I destroyed my family's life, that I destroyed my dad's life, that every person I come in contact, I destroy. So she sets up the premise. And then when I come forward and try to tell people like, this is what's happening, she can be like, oh, see, Jesse's trying to destroy my life is what they do. It just all adds up. So she's so good at protecting those loopholes and discrediting people.
Is that why you think maybe other members of both families still won't speak out publicly about this right now and are staying quiet? Or do you think it's a fear thing or just want to stay out of it? Is there any thought process on that?
I can't speak to why people aren't. I know the culture of my family. I think that it's probably probably a number of things. Some people, I think it's just that they themselves have been harmed so much by her, and they want to stay. They just want to live their life and not be dragged into this. Other members, it could be fear. I can't say. All I can say, and again, the only reason why I'm coming forward, I was not planning on coming forward to the media other than just doing the podcast interview, is when I heard that Ruby accused her child of this, and I just hope that this can give the public some context and some clarity of what is happening and why they should not believe her.
So 6 charges of aggravated child abuse. That's what's on the table. I'm sure you're not a legal expert. I'm not either, but I've talked to a number of attorneys just kind of about this case, more about the hype of the case, because it's obviously gotten a ton of attention because of Ruby's profile, right? Because of the high profile aspect of the YouTube channel. And that's why I think it's interesting we're talking about Jodi, because Ruby's got.
Yep, Caroline, that's true. If you are accused of homosexuality in the Mormon church, you're immediately X'd. If you are accused of incest, not so much. And in addition to incest, if you're accused of SA on a child, you can still be in the church also.
As you mentioned, is getting the spotlight in a weird way. And Jodi, as you mentioned, is behind a lot of the tactics. Do you feel like 6 felony charges, I mean, in your mind, is that enough punishment for what is alleged against them?
I mean, I don't think that it's the full scope. I mean, including my own child abuse that I experienced. I mean, I want justice, and I want fair justice. So I want everything that she has done, that both of them have done, to be held accountable. Whether that be 6, 12, 18, however many, I just want to see that she is held accountable for the things that she has done. But I personally believe that is not covering everything that she's done. And I can say that because I know that she's not being held accountable for what she did to me. In the legal system, I mean.
How closely are you following this? Are you looking every day to see if there's something new that's put out? I mean, where is your mindset at with the case, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm not following it every single day. I'm trying to navigate just my own emotional safety in all of this. I'm trying to stay up to date. I have people that have sent me things that feel a little bit more safe in being more aware of what's going on. And so like when something big does come out, like with Ruby's accusations, I had someone sent that to me. And I was sitting in the parking lot of Lowe's, and I started having a panic attack because it was just so directly similar I mean, the exact thing. This is exactly what she does. This is what Jodi does. And so now, because she's painted him as this thing, regardless of what comes out, like, he's no longer, I mean, I think hopefully the public can see through this and the judge can see through this. But that's the goal, is so that anything that he says is now no longer credible.
What do you think the public will ultimately take away from these two as it pertains to the court proceedings and such?
I mean, I just hope that Jodi is not sidelined in this, because she is so connected to what is happening. And yes, Ruby needs to be held accountable, because she made those choices. She's just as guilty. But Jodi's been doing this for much longer and has patterns and history in this. So I just really hope that, yes, Ruby is the focus because of her high profile and because they're her children. But those children were, as far as I'm aware, I hope I got this right, were in Jodi's care. Like, this isn't, I just so hope that even though Ruby's the focus, I just hope that Jodi is not, that she's not able to slink away and just kind of fade into the background, because she's the foundation.
At QVC, find all things fall and sizes for all.
Okay. Now I want to keep this under an hour. We're almost at the hour mark, because morning lives, I just do not have the time to be here that long. She's not been sleeping very well in her new house, so she's still sleeping right now because we were up late, but any minute now. So let me just read a little bit more of these reviews on jodihildebrandt.com. And we started some of them, and in the beginning of the stream, there's just a few more, and then we'll close out for the day. So I initially found out about this group on Facebook after one of their proprietors. Why can I not say that? Proprietors went after a school for playing music at a dance. Jodi masquerades as a therapist and educator, but on every platform she can control, she silences anyone who says anything against her by blocking or removing comments. The hypocrisy is real and shameless. Do not recommend. In the Facebook groups, every time other people have given the advice that Ruby and Jodi didn't like, them is not the truth. Okay, so typo. Which people in that group have different advice. They should have disagreed with them respectfully, not say you are not the truth. Oh, okay. So whenever anyone disagrees, they say to them, you're not the truth. Got it. These so-called women who are intended to teach parents on coaching is one of the most distraught things I've ever seen. A mother who has been rightfully accused of being impulsive to her kids is now being able to give access to couples on how to become less distanced with children. You know what they always say, what comes around goes around. Hopefully Ruby's kids don't learn from her and evil coaching and find a better life without her being involved in it. You can't be upset when people tell you so-called rude things. You only get called insults by people only if you deserved it. Jodi is the reason the family is going to be downhill. Hope they have fun torturing lives. Now that was made a month ago. So obviously before the arrest. The things these women say are nonsensical. They throw around buzzwords like truth and distortion in a rambling word salad and never end up saying anything at all. Seems very cultish. And one counselor has been in trouble and had her license revoked in the past for HIPAA violations, while the other has no degree or background in counseling or psychology. It's all very strange and a bit creepy. Definitely stay away from these people. Jodi and Ruby, I'll say it for you so you don't have to respond with the same, I don't know you and I have never taken one of your classes. Those words seem to be your ongoing rebuttal for negative reviews. People are reviewing you based on your unqualified, harsh, distorted parenting advice that you are putting on social media. This Ruby has made a living off of putting her children on social media for the world to see. Now they are older, she needs to regroup and rebrand herself under the name Connections because so many people have spoken out against her parenting tactics. Please be aware of Connections. These women are not clinically qualified to counsel. They talk in circles using their favorite saying, "You are living in distortion." Please be careful who you seek out for guidance. This group could harm your children and your family life, and you become brainwashed by this cult-like community. I have listened to podcasts. I was in the private Facebook groups Moms of Truth with Jodi and Ruby and watched classes sent via email. The advice given by this group is almost dangerous and borders on abuse. Some examples of advice given to parents include telling a mother to remove a 13-year-old from their home. If the mom did not remove the child, she was told to isolate the child from the rest of the family and 2 days after his 18th birthday, kick him out of the house. They called a single adoptive mom selfish, telling her she was selfish and did not think of creating a strong foundation for a child before adopting. They also say children do not deserve any privacy, a bedroom, or a bed. In their opinion, children do not have possessions. Everything a child owns in your home belongs to the parents. If a child has earned money, they have no right to it because it belongs to the parents. The advice that is most destructive is given by Ruby Franke from the YouTube channel 8 Passengers. Ruby exploited her children for years and made a lot of money doing so. She has videos about her daughter's periods and shaving their legs. She gave her children no privacy and now is giving parenting advice. Before giving this company your money, you really need to research who they are and what they believe in. Edit. It is funny to me that I was accused of being a child for writing this review. I am actually a woman older than Ruby, far from a child. All my statements are true and I would like to verify them. You can check out their YouTube channel and their Instagram account. I only scratched the surface of the parenting advice offered by this company. These women preach against control, yet they are challenged. But when they are challenged, they block and delete. And there's more. We can get into more at another time, guys. But that's all I have for you today. So it just seems like they advertise themselves as like, you join this class, and they try to sell their products like I don't know, the manuals and classes that you can take, and they just are brainwashing you the entire time. Like that one review said, none of the stuff that they're teaching is clinically proven to be an effective way of counsel. In fact, a lot of it is just the opposite of what most psychologists would recommend doing. It just seems very like gimmicky, culty, and money based. And none of their techniques seem to be effective in a sense of, helping somebody thrive or overcome things. It's just all about money, in my opinion, and mixed with a sadistic thrill that it seems they both get in doing all this. So anyways, guys, we'll be following this. They will be in court again, at least Ruby Franke will, the 21st of September. So not that far away. And hopefully we will get an update then. And we'll be talking very soon, guys. And thank you again for being here. If you haven't hit like, please do so. And we will talk very soon, guys. So again, enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks so much for being here. Bye, guys.